Hello everybody, so we have the third test of India versus Australia at Indore in India starting today, 3 o'clock Australian time, about 4 hours away, or although it might be 3 hours by the time that this uploads. So look, it's not too far away and we can start to get some kind of idea as to what to expect. So firstly, the pitch, we have seen pictures of the pitch and we've heard some analysis of it. And the early analysis is that looks like it's going to be a pace place, which doesn't sound very Indian, but India has a lot of grounds. They're not all just spin friendly places. So I guess if you think of India, it's a bit like Australia, a lot of different grounds that play completely differently to each other, which is funny because when Indians come here they say, oh, it's all so pace friendly everywhere, and it's not. Sydney cricket ground is definitely not pace friendly. Even the Melbourne cricket ground nowadays isn't all that pace friendly, and Adelaide isn't particularly either. You do have pace friendly grounds, but not all of them are. And I think that's a bit of that misunderstanding of a foreign condition, and perhaps we've misunderstood them a bit too by thinking they're all dust bowls. On the other hand, they pitch doctor like crazy, and that means that regardless of how the pitch normally plays or has played in the past, they just make it do whatever they want it to do. So on this occasion, they've decided to tell the curators they want a pace friendly pitch. Now the justification for this, from what they've said, and this is official reports coming from the Indian camp, is that they want to prepare for the World Test Championship. Now I know this flies in the face of what you're allowed to do, but once again, India, at least as far as curators are concerned, can do whatever they like. The ICC does not care even the slightest, however blatant their pitch doctoring is. So obviously, if we went in Australia and said, well, we're preparing pitches to help us to get ready for the World Test Championship final, the ICC would turn around and say to us, hey, what the hell are you doing? You're not allowed to do that. You've got to prepare a fair pitch that plays as it normally does, that's got a fair balance between bat and ball and doesn't favour your team over their team. But India obviously does not care about that. They've been very obvious with this, and that's their official statement, as if they think they have a right to prepare a pitch that is going to help them out. And that's their official story, and unofficially it's probably a bit worse than that. Because if you look at what Australia's lineup is, and you might think, well, why do they prepare a pace-friendly pitch when Australia are pace-friendly? And if you look at Australia, who their best bowlers are, and look, if we assume that they're playing on a pitch that's equally good for fast and spin bowlers, Australia probably has 20 fast bowlers that are better than our best spin bowler. Now the best spin bowler right now is probably either Nathan Lyon or Todd Murphy. There's a little bit of a question mark there because Todd Murphy was that good on debut and his first class record is that good. Granted, he'd only played 7 first class matches before he played his debut for Australia, or test debut, and he's only played 2 test matches, so it's a bit of a small sample size, but he had a great first test, and his second test he was severely underbowled and poorly utilised, but still did pretty well, much better than Matthew Kuhneman did. And Nathan Lyon though is still our stalwart. It's hard to be, I don't think we can definitely say that Todd Murphy's ahead of him, but it looked like he was. It looked like Todd Murphy is now our premier spinner, but I don't think it's yet time to dump Lyon. And if I was going into a test with one spinner, I'd still probably be picking Lyon, probably, but I might consider Murphy. Anyway, Murphy's got a bit of a side strain. I believe he's still fit to play, but he's a little bit risky. So why would India be picking a pitch that's good for their pace bowlers, considering that Australia have good pace bowlers? Well, they're saying, oh no, it's just to prepare for the World Test Championship. But let's think beyond that. Let's assume that that's not pitch doctory enough. That's still a little bit of a pitch doctoring. That's still illegal. Not that they care, because they know they can get away with it. But what would be the real reason? Well, let's have a think about this. Australia's best bowler, world number 1 until this test series at least, is Pat Cummins. Pat Cummins went home about a week ago. His mother's sick, he's now announced. She's in palliative care, could be dying. I don't know what's wrong with her. Could be very severely ill. And he's decided not to come back for the third test because he wants to look after his mum. Whether he comes back for the fourth, we don't know. At this stage, I would assume he won't. And so that's our best bowler, our best pace bowler, also our captain. So he's left and he hasn't been replaced. So we've decided not to send our next best bowler. Now, next best bowler, based on who they had playing in other matches, is probably Michael Neser. He hasn't been sent. So Pat Cummins, gone, no replacement. So that's really hurt our fast bowling stocks. We also have Josh Hazlewood, who objectively is probably our second best bowler. Other than a few injuries, he would probably have been ranked number 2 in tests. Now he's currently, I think, around 12, but still very good bowler, but he's out injured. Again, hasn't been replaced. Third best fast bowler for Australia is Mitchell Starc. Now Mitchell Starc is coming back from an injury. Said he's definitely going to play, but he missed the second test and we were expecting him to play in the second, and he's saying that he's not 100% fit, so he will be bowling with an injured finger. So he will bowl through that pain, he said he will. Assuming we let him do that, he will play. I don't know. It's an argument to let him have another test, but there's also an argument that, well, if he says he's good and we need him. So if he does bowl, if he does play, he's probably not going to want to bowl long periods. Now he might, who knows. So I suppose that's more the legs and the body than the finger. But he might just want to bowl 3 or 4 overs at a time. Just have short, sharp spells and then go back. Now if you're doing that, that's okay if you have lots of other bowlers. Now we're going to have Cameron Green there, and Cameron Green also recovering from injury, although Green, from what we've heard, is 100% and will be able to bowl without problems. But he also had, I think it was a hand injury, and he might not want to bowl long periods either. And also he's not really test quality, certainly not as a bowler, and really not as a batsman, but overall maybe just. So Cameron Green won't want to be bowling a lot. So we don't want to have Cameron Green and Mitchell Starc as the only 2 fast bowlers, particularly if it is a fast bowling track. And we don't really want to have 3 spin bowlers, not when, you know, at least one of them is not test level and certainly didn't seem to be on debut, that being Matthew Kuhnemann. And if we do play Mitchell Swepson, well, he's not really test level either, or at least wasn't in his first couple of tests. So, you know, and I haven't seen anything in first class cricket that suggested that Swepson has stepped up to become test level. Now, who knows, he might go in and be amazing, but it'd be a risk. And if this is a pace-friendly pitch, as all reports say it is, why are we going in with 3 spin bowlers? But what we could do is we could unleash Lance Morris. Now, I said before, I was nervous about Lance Morris playing without cover, without having Cameron Green in the side. But Cameron Green's going to be fit, so it'd be perfectly safe to play Lance Morris. So you'd have Lance Morris bowl probably short, sharp spells, but who knows, he's been 12th man for so long and been in the squad for so long, also back in Australia, that he might just want to say, no, stuff it, I'll bowl 20 overs a day and just push himself and be fine. And in fact, making somebody wait that long can make them better. And particularly when they're waiting that long for their debut, and when it probably looked like he wasn't going to play for Australia in this series either. So if he's suddenly put in there, I can imagine he'd be very excited, very eager to impress, and he might have a really good debut, particularly if it is a fast bowling track. And then you have Scott Boland, who still averages 13 with the ball. It's into double figures now. Of course, it was 7, 8, 9 before, but he bowled amazingly in the first test without taking a wicket. India was scared of him, and he could bowl forever. Boland could bowl 50 overs in a day and be fine, and he'd be fresh the whole time. So yes, he's not quite, well no, he's not quite the level of our three best fast bowlers, but he's not too far behind. And he's clearly number 4, but someday he might actually be in the top 3. So you could have an attack of, or open the bowling with Boland, well, no, you probably open with Morris and Stark. You give them both short spells, then you'd bring Boland in, and you give Boland a long spell at first change, and then you'd bring Green in for a little while, or you might bring Lyon in, and you'd probably have Boland and Lyon bowling most of the overs, and they'd both be fine bowling 50 overs each for the day, and then you'd come in with a bit of Green for a few little spells, a bit of alternatives, a little bit of Morris in short sharp spells, or maybe longer spells if you can handle it, and you'd have Stark probably bowling short sharp spells, and that could be enough variety that could upset India's rhythm. And also we're going to have Travis Head as potentially our second spin bowler. Now Travis Head's been in some pretty good spin bowling form. He went into the last test as the 4th spin bowler effectively and bowled like 2 overs and couldn't really get into the swing of it. But in this situation where he's potentially the second spin bowler, he could be very useful. So this could be a lineup that could work. And I have a lot more faith in this than in going in with 3 spin bowlers. And potentially we could go with 4 if we really wanted to, with Cameron Green returning from injury being the only fast bowler, which just seems stupid to me. But having a couple of bowlers that are got a bit of an injury they're carrying, and Green's apparently will be recovered, but I wouldn't trust Green with bowling long spells. Having him go in, having Stark go in, but then having those cover with Morris and Boland, I think would be great. And look, I know there's the choice between Lyon and Murphy for the spin bowling slot, but I think that Murphy is having a bit of an injury issue. I don't know how bad it is, but also I don't mind. I still think Lyon is still probably our number 1 spinner. I think it's too early to call time and just have Murphy move up to definitely number 1. He might be, but let's give Lyon a few more shots. He bowled really well in the second test, got a 5-wicket innings and almost won us the match. So, you know, let's give him another test and see how he goes again. And that's the other thing. So will Australia win this? No, don't be silly. India's been winning at indoor like crazy, but I still think it's important to go in with our best team. And for me, that's our best team, and you never know. Look, India might be thinking, you can't play any of your best bowlers. We're going to romp it in. They've doctored the pitch, but perhaps incorrectly. Of course, if they're tricking us and it's really spin friendly, well, who cares? I still think we should go in with pace. And anyway, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Bye-bye now.